Turn off the power switch and unplug the power cord from its electrical outlet in the following situations. While sewing, keep an eye on the needle and keep hands away from all moving parts. Prior to using your machine, you must first set it up. To do so, raise the support rod fully, turning slightly until the position catches engage. Position the thread guide on the thread stand so that the arrow is to the front. Place each of the spools on the spool holder. Plug the foot controller into the machine socket and then into an electrical socket. Push the power switch to the on position and the power light will turn on. There is no specific order for the threading. When threading each thread, please follow the color markings. Raise the presser foot. To open the looper cover, press to the right the indent provided with your right thumb and tilt the cover toward you. Turn on the power switch. Thread the machine with the lower looper thread. The red markings are provided on the machine to indicate the path of the lower looper thread. Pull up the threading changeover lever and turn the hand wheel until you hear a click. Bring the thread up from the spool and lay it from the back to the front into the guide. Thread the first machine guide. Slip the thread through the groove. Thread the guide. Pull the thread out about 20 to 30 centimeters. Insert the thread about 2 centimeters into the threading hole. Push the air control push button. The thread will then emerge from the lower looper hole. Place the thread underneath the presser foot. Thread the machine with the upper looper thread. The upper looper thread follows the path marked in purple. The upper looper thread is run just like the lower looper thread, but by following the purple color thread guides. Slip the thread through the groove. Thread the guide. Pull the thread out about 20 to 30 centimeters. Insert the thread about 2 centimeters into the threading hole. Push the air control push button. The thread will then emerge from the upper looper hole. Place the thread underneath the presser foot. After the threading of the upper looper and lower looper are completed, make sure to pull down the threading changeover lever. The looper cover will not close if the threading changeover lever has not been returned to its original position. Thread the machine with the right needle thread. Turn off the power switch. The thread path is marked in green. Thread the first machine guide. Take the thread under the thread guide plate and through the thread take-up. Thread the guide. Thread the guide on the needle clamp. Turn the hand wheel toward you to align the marking at the hand wheel with the one on the machine. Push the positioning lever to the R position. Press the automatic needle threader lever down. Hook the thread into A with both hands. Pull the lever up, then thread through the needle eye. Place the thread underneath the presser foot. Thread the machine with the left needle thread. The thread path is marked in beige. The left needle thread is run just like the right needle thread by following the beige color thread guide. Take the thread under the thread guide plate and through the take-up. Thread the guide. Thread the guide on the needle clamp. Turn the hand wheel toward you to align the marking at the hand wheel with the one on the machine. Push the positioning lever to the L position. Press the automatic needle threader lever down. Hook the thread into A with both hands. Pull the lever up, then thread the needle eye. Place the thread underneath the presser foot. After the threading is complete, close the looper cover and clip on the waste collector. Do a trial run on the same fabric you intend to use in order to check that the stitch formation and thread tension are appropriate. Here we will use the 4-thread overlock as an example. Turn on the power switch. Select the 4-thread overlock on the LCD screen. Push the selection lever to the position nearest the presser foot. Set all tension dials to 4. Check that the upper knife is in the upper position. Lower the presser foot and press down on the foot controller gently to make a thread chain. A thread chain is a stitch that can be formed with no fabric present. After ensuring that a thread chain can be made, place a double layer of fabric under the presser foot and begin sewing. Press the foot controller gently to sew slower and firmly to sew faster. At the end of the seam, continue sewing a 5 to 6 centimeter long thread chain. In proper stitch formation, both looper threads meet at the fabric edge. Both the left needle thread and the right needle thread appear cleanly on the upper side. Adjust the thread tension dials, stitch length dial, cutting width dial, and differential feed dial to ensure a proper stitch. If the loops are formed on the underside, tighten the upper looper thread tension or loosen the lower looper thread tension. If the loops are formed on the upper side, tighten the lower looper thread tension or loosen the upper looper thread tension. If the right needle thread forms loops on the underside, tighten the right needle thread tension. If the left needle thread forms loops on the underside, tighten the left needle thread tension. If the fabric wanders between the loops or the edge of the fabric curls, then loosen the upper and lower looper thread tensions. If the fabric puckers during sewing, then loosen the right and left needle thread tensions. Adjust the stitch length using the stitch length dial. The stitch length is infinitely variable from 1 to 4 millimeters. Most overlock work is done with a basic setting of 2.5 millimeters. The suitable stitch length for roll hems and narrow seams is 1 to 1.5 millimeters. If the loops seem to be too loose or the fabric wanders between the loops, adjust the cutting width dial. Turn the power switch off before adjusting the cutting width dial. If the loops seem to be too loose, increase the cutting width. If the fabric wanders between the loops or the edge of the fabric curls, reduce the cutting width. The differential feed dial produces perfect seaming on stretch or closely woven fabrics. Turn the dial to a larger number for knits or stretch fabrics. Turn the dial to a smaller number for nylon or tightly woven fabrics. Presser foot pressure is adjustable by turning the presser foot presser knob. The standard presser foot pressure is the M position. For more pressure, adjust the knob to the H position. For less pressure, adjust the knob to the L position. To carry out sewing without cutting the materials, deactivate the upper knife. Turn the power switch off before deactivating the upper knife. Turn the upper knife changeover knob to lower the upper knife. To cut the material, pull back the knob and turn the hand wheel until the upper knife comes to the original position. Turn the power switch off before changing the presser foot. Turn the hand wheel toward you until the needles are fully raised. Raise the presser foot. Press the catch to release the presser foot from the clamp. To attach the presser foot, place it under the shaft. The groove in the shaft should line up exactly with the presser foot pin. Lower the shank and the presser foot will engage automatically. Set values of 15 different kinds of stitch can be visually checked on the LCD screen. The sewing type name is displayed on the screen. Select the stitch type by pressing indication buttons. When the confirmation button is pressed, the screen is changed over between the sewing type name display screen and the set value display screen. This display is useful to set the machine. To edit the set value, select the stitch pattern you want to edit and press the Edit button. The display of selected item flashes on and off. Select the item you want to edit. When confirmation button is pressed, the edit display appears. Press the indication buttons to set it. When default button is pressed, the value returns to the initial value. When confirmation button is pressed, the value is stored in memory and the screen returns to the Edit Item selection screen. If the value differs from the initial value, the relevant item is highlighted. When Edit button is pressed, the screen returns to the previous screen. Display the stitch pattern you want to initialize. Press Default button while keeping Edit button held pressed. The initialization check screen appears. When the circle is pressed, the set value is initialized. When the X is pressed, the operation is cancelled. The memory number is the function for increasing the number of set value display screens. For each of 15 stitch patterns, 3 memory numbers can be added to the current set value at the maximum. Display the stitch pattern you want to add or delete. Keep Edit button held pressed for 2 seconds. When Add is selected, addition of the memory number is executed and the screen returns to the previous screen. The added memory number can be edited in the same way as the previous setting. To delete the memory number, display the stitch pattern you want to delete, then keep Edit button held pressed for 2 seconds. When Delete is selected, deletion of the memory number is executed, and the screen returns to the previous screen. To keep seams from coming apart, secure the beginning and end of each seam. Here we will explain how to tie off the end of the stitch with the overlock sewing machine. Sew a 3 to 4 cm long thread chain. Stop the machine after sewing a few stitches. Lift the presser foot with the needle remaining in the fabric. Place the thread chains from the left between the fabric and the presser foot. Lower the presser foot and sew over the thread chain. Sew to the end of the seam and stop the needle. Raise the needle and presser foot. Turn the fabric over and lower the needles into the fabric. Lower the presser foot. Sew carefully over the previous stitching for about 2 to 3 centimeters without cutting them with the upper knife. Then remove the fabric and cut the thread. You can unstitch your seams very neatly without damaging the fabric by running a commercial seam ripper along the upper and lower looper threads simultaneously. Turn the power switch off before replacing the needle. Turn the hand wheel toward you until the needles are fully raised. Use the needle inserter. Using the small screwdriver, loosen the needle set screws and remove the needles. Use a regular household sewing machine needle. Place the new needle, flat side toward the back, into the hole of the needle inserter and insert the needle as far as possible into the needle clamp. Then tighten the set screw. For woolly nylon threading, use the looper threader. Insert the looper threader until it comes out. If the thread breaks while sewing, stop sewing immediately and remove the fabric. When one of the looper threads breaks, pull out both threads and rethread. Select the 3-thread overlock left or right needle on the LCD screen. Three-thread overlock width can be adjusted by changing the needle position. Use the right needle for narrow overlock and left needle for wide overlock. Use the upper looper converter for 2-thread overlock, flat lock, and roll hem. Turn off the power switch. Attach the converter. Make sure the edge of the converter is into the looper hole. In the aforementioned state, the upper looper thread is not fed. Select the 2-thread overlock right or left needle on the LCD screen. For the right needle overlock, use the right needle. Set the right needle thread tension to 2.5, the lower looper thread tension to 6.5. For the left needle overlock, use the left needle. Set the left needle thread tension to 2 and the lower looper thread tension to 5. This machine comes equipped with a roll hemming feature capable of producing both 3-thread roll hems and narrow seams. The fabric edge is automatically rolled and oversewn, resulting in fine, narrow edging for hems and cuffs. Here, the process will be described for the 3-thread roll hem. Select the 3-thread roll hem on the LCD screen. Use the right needle. Pull the selection lever to the position furthest from the presser foot. Set the cutting width dial between 1 and 1.5. Set the stitch length dial between 1 and 1.5. Set the lower looper thread tension dial between 5 and 7. A beautiful finish can be produced using woolly nylon as the upper looper thread. Woolly nylon thread features a soft feel and is more elastic than spun threads, which are commonly used in overlock stitching. When using woolly nylon thread, the upper looper thread tension should be between 3 and 4. Turn the power switch off and unplug the power cord from the electrical outlet before cleaning. As you use your machine, dust and fluff tends to collect, particularly around the throat plate and lower knife, and should be removed regularly. Use the looper threader for the looper pipe cleaning.